For more, let's bring in CTV's Jeremie Charron joining us live from Ottawa. So, Jeremie, talk to us about the increased defense spending and the potential impact here at home.
Yeah, Scott, significant numbers here. When you look at, as you just touched on, more than double the parliamentary budget officer's estimate. That figure of $92 billion, the deficit projected for this year by the C.D. Howe Institute, is also significantly higher than the $60 billion figure that the Liberal Party of Canada had put forward during the election campaign. That is the number they campaigned on, and we're seeing this number increase, of course, mostly due to the fact defense spending is increasing significantly, and Mark Carney's government has committed to meeting a 2% of GDP spending on defense, a NATO target set about a decade ago, but they've committed to doing it this fiscal year rather than by 2032, which was the commitment made during the election campaign. And so that, of course, is a large part of that increase to a deficit this fiscal year, projected deficit of $92 million. Sorry, not 92 million, not 92 billion, which is, I believe, what I said earlier. That is a significant increase, though, over what was promised. And what we're seeing is further increases potentially over the next decade. Last week at a NATO summit, Prime Minister Mark Carney agreed, as did the other NATO allies, to commit to spending 5% of GDP on defense by the year 2035. The C.D. Howe Institute estimates, Scott, that would mean the defense portion alone of Canada's deficit in the year 2035 could be north of $68 billion. So that is a significant increase in terms of the impact on Canada's deficit directly related to defense spending. And the big question will be, how does the federal government look to balance this out? That is a significant amount of money that they're going to have to try and make up somehow, or just continue to run significant deficits.
So let's dive more into that question. How do they pay for it? One way could be cuts to public service, but there's a new warning about what that could look like, too.
Yeah, absolutely. The federal government or Mark Carney's Liberal Party campaigned on a promise to make cuts to the public service, specifically $6 billion by the year 2026-27, and then $13 billion by the year 2028 to 2029. Those cuts were promised to be made through attrition and through increased productivity in the public service. The new report out this week by the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives indicates that that would require 24% decrease in spending by the public service, something that is not going to happen, this report says, by just attrition and finding efficiencies. It will require service cuts, it will require operational cuts, and it will impact the services that the public service is able to offer and how the public service operates. Here's a little more from one of the authors of that report.
That's not to say that you couldn't leave positions open, not replace them, not renew contracts, and thereby reduce the size of the public service. But inevitably, that has an impact on services. Moreover, you don't get to a 24% decrease by letting people retire, not replacing them. This is going to have to involve substantial cuts.
So as you heard there, Scott, this is going to pose some significant challenges for the federal government. They cannot meet both of those promises without making some changes. The first being increasing defense spending eventually over the next decade to 5%. But even just the increase to 2%, which they've committed to do this year, will be significant, while also reducing some of those costs to the public service. There's going to have to be more significant cuts to some programs or to the public service. They're going to have to look elsewhere for further cuts to try and balance out the deficit. They've promised over the next short period of time to balance it, I believe it's 3 or 4 years, to balance out the operational deficit. So that will be hard to do while continuing to increase defense spending.
CTV's Jeremie Charron with the very latest from Ottawa. Jeremie, thanks so much for this.
Anytime.